How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today we are talking with Grace. Grace is an accomplished satellite operator, and she's here to help you get started in satellite activations. We're going to go through the inexpensive way to get started and then talk a little bit about the more expensive stuff and what you can truly accomplish by shooting them radio waves at those pieces of metal flying around our Earth. So we'll get started real soon, so enjoy the memes. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Thanks for coming on out on your weekend. Hopefully you're having fun. Maybe you're getting a little radioactive out there. So I have, I think, which is going to be a really fun show. Hopefully everybody's excited because I feel like a lot of people, they've got everything they need. Likely you've probably already bought yourself an elk antenna or an arrow antenna, and you just need just a couple more things to get that last little bit. And so I think today is going to do that for you, and I'm excited to have Grace on to talk about it. So real quick, let's hit some of the items here. HamTactical.com, go check it out. It's our merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course, ran by my wife, who we do the podcast together every week, and a lot of fun stuff that we have available there, so check it out. I want to remind everybody the ARRL has helped us out, well, in many ways, including creating the legislations like the U.S. House H.R. 1094, is that right? 1094, and the U.S. Senate S459 to help give us some rights back for those that are behind enemy lines at an HOA. And all you got to do is provide your call sign. It fills in a lot of the information for you, and hit the button, and it will send your letters to your representatives to help us out, get you some rights back. So hopefully you guys all do that. I'll drop the link in the video chat here so you guys can check that out as well. And then in the after chat, I usually don't mention the after chat this early, but I want to give a shout out of something I discovered when I was perusing Steam. There's a new game called Morse, and it's like number crunchers almost, or some kind of zombie, House of the Dead teaches typing kind of thing, but it's for Morse code, and it's about blowing up like Axis ships. I don't know if it's World War I or World War II, but highly recommend that as well. So check that out. I'm going to drop the link for that, and you guys can go check that out because that looks pretty fun. So, okay, what are we talking about? I think I'm ready. We're gonna bring Grace on here. Grace, K8LG is joining me. How are you today?
Doing good, Josh. How about yourself?
Very, very good. So, Grace, what's been going on with you in amateur radio? I know you said you're quite busy as a college student, but what have you been playing around with? What have you been doing?
Yes, I am a college student. I'm in Ohio, about 30 minutes from Hamvention, so doing a great time down here. I brought a lot of radio equipment with me. I have my 891 that I'm very grateful for the Huntsville Ham Fest for Young Ham of the Year for giving me. It's been great use, as well as I have satellite gear down here. I'm studying electrical engineering, so definitely don't have a lot of time for radio, but normally Saturday or Sunday I spend, between an hour and 3 hours doing some radio. I love to bring some of my friends, hey, come with me, see me set up this antenna, or hey, you want to watch me do some satellite operations and hold an antenna. It's been great down here.
Yeah, we were talking before the show, and you mentioned you'll see it in the slides. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but you take your satellite equipment pretty much like wherever you go, right? Is that kind of a thing with the satellite people? Is that they always have their satellite equipment wherever they go?
Yeah, I know of one specific fellow. He keeps his 910. He keeps his arrow in his trunk. So anywhere he goes, it's always have it. I don't always take my stuff with me, but especially to college. We have a few other hams on campus that are technicians, and I said, hey, I need to have something that a technician can do if they wanted to join me.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's one of the, I guess, unsung best aspects of satellites, which I'm sure you're going to cover here in a bit, is that technicians, if you're new to the hobby, this is like one of the coolest things you can do, and it remains cool whether you get your general or extra. It's amazing what you can do with the satellites.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and pull up your slides. I think you got a couple of really awesome slides here to talk through with the folks. And so everybody watching, we'll take your questions, of course. So just, do at Ham Radio Crash Course or write question in there somewhere. And we'll pause and we'll try and answer it live because, like I said, I think Grace has got a winning slide deck here to get you all interested in amateur radio satellites. But we're trying to give you that last little push to get you to go try it. And I think she might be onto something here. So let's take a look, Grace. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I might not be ready. My screen went all... What happened to my screen? These slides are way too small. That's weird. Hold on. Let me see if I can refresh that. Maybe. Let's see. That's way better, but not big enough. How do we make that bigger? Let me do this. Of course, we tried this before the show, and then, if naturally it's not going to go once we start playing around with stuff. But oh, there we go. Whatever that is, that did it. So okay, go for it, Grace. Take it away.
So, as Josh said, amateur radio satellites. So it's also good to know a little bit about me before we start. I'm 19 years old. I was licensed in March of 2021, so still relatively new, 4 years. So I have a lot of good Elmers that I look up to. I hold an amateur extra. Kind of behind that, my father is an amateur extra, and I said, hey, why can't I operate on the frequencies he can? So it's kind of a rivalry there, like, hey, why can you work him and I can't? So I had to get my extra. So of course it's a satellite presentation. I am hesitant with my awards and achievements that I have, but I at least wanted to share some of them. Most recently.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask, since you got it on the top there, why don't you tell people what Grid Master means? Because I don't know that everybody knows that.
No. Yeah. So people are more familiar with Fred Fish, which is a 6-meter award for working 488 grid squares in the U.S. or in the continental U.S. And there's a map and a designated certain grids you must work. AMSAT has the AMSAT Grid Master Award, which is the same thing as Fred Fish, but just for working those grids through satellites. So only satellites.
And does the number 73 means you're the 73rd person to do it?
Yeah, I am the 73rd, and a little bit backstory about that is number one, first person ever to do it was my grandfather, John Pepe, Kilo 8 Yankee Sierra Echo. And the second person ever was my dad, Kilo 8 Delta Papa, previously Kilo Delta 8 Charlie Alpha Ocean. So this has been a great journey. I just was awarded, 2 weeks ago. I got number 73, and I was like, hey, we'll see if it works. And it happens to be number 73, and it's super cool to continue the family be the third generation doing amateur.
That's amazing. I got a super chat really quick I want to hit. It's from Norman Jester, and they say, thanks for the info on satellites. You should come to Hamtastic and bring your gear and talk about it. Well, I was going to talk about Hamtastic at the end of the show, but I'll take a quick minute because you sent a super chat. Thank you, Grace. I apologize. Let me do this really fast. So if you are in the area, SoCal area, Hamtastic is coming up. It is going to be the 20th of September, and it's like an all-day event, basically. They have a cool little meeting location. I'll drop the link in the show for everybody to check it out. But it sounds like it's really cool. I, unfortunately, will be hiking at the time. I will be with my son doing a Boy Scout hike. Maybe I'll bring my satellite antenna out along with me, and we'll have a little fun with that. But make sure to go check out Hamtastic San Diego, guys. And thank you for the super chat. Sorry, Grace. Continue, please.
No, it's all good. So, of course, all these awards that are listed are satellite awards specifically. So DXCC, I was able to get my DXCC using GreenCube IL-117. But unfortunately, it's no longer.
Yeah.
I know in previous streams, Josh has talked with Eric about IL-117 and such. But DXCC is still possible. As I mentioned, my grandfather, Kilo 8 Yankee Sierra Echo, was able to achieve a DXCC all through low Earth orbit. So
that's crazy. That's impressive.
So, yes. And the VUCC is what most of us chase after, which is grid squares. Trying to work as many grid squares as we can in the U.S., in South America, anywhere we can, even water grids. Workdale States is another one. It's a bit difficult for some of our friends on the East Coast due to the footprint of RS-44 currently. And then Workdale Zones was something that I was able to achieve when we had our MEO satellite, which, based on current satellites, I don't believe is possible anymore. So a lot of accomplishments there. Not that a lot of them I take lightly, but I really love amateur radio satellites, and it's what I started off with, and my first contact was on an amateur radio satellite.
You know, I think you basically dispelled any argument that someone may have. They're like, why am I listening to Grace, this young ham, about how to do satellites? I think we can all trust her, guys. So let's talk about that. Look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So as I mentioned, I have DXCC, third generation as well, to achieve DXCC all through amateur radio satellites. So if you're like, hey, satellites, I can't work the DX. Like, you can work the DX.
Yes.
It is possible. There's a lot of South America and Central America, even stations in Alaska that are always looking for contacts. And if you're in more of the northern part of the U.S., a lot of times you can work Alaska even on FM.
Mm-hmm.
So from Michigan, where my home location is, I was able to work Alaska with just an FM satellite. So if you're in Washington or one of those other states there, it'd be much easier. Then, as I mentioned, can't forget the other Wiles in my family, my mother and my grandmother. They're very supportive. My mom, she works the rare ones. And my grandma, I love my grandma. She's so supportive as well. So they're three generations, and I just love them. I wouldn't be where I am without them. I got my license originally to honor my grandfather and then fell in love with this hobby. So why amateur radio satellites? As I mentioned, technician level license. You start off, you get your license, you're stuck with your VHF, UHF. You're like, okay, everyone tells me, repeaters, use your repeaters, talk to the people in your area. And you're like, I'm sick of these people. I want to talk to DX. I want to talk across states. I want to talk across countries. The amateur radio satellites, the majority of them, all the ones we currently have, are accessible to technician class license. It's what I started with. My first contact, my first several contacts were all on satellites. So
yeah,
I'm very.
Do you live in it? Well, you're in Ohio. You're right by Hamvention, so you got a decent chunk of repeaters. But I would just reiterate. Many times I've heard, oh, I live in a town. There's like 3 repeaters. I'm not really into what they're talking about. It's not really my kind of scene. So this is like, it is like working HF or DX, like before you even get on HF kind of thing. Particularly, you can be a technician and get DXCC. That's going to drive some hams crazy, I bet, a little bit. So that's super cool. But yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, and of course, it's something new. Even some of our older hams are like, hey, I've been doing HF, I've been doing POTA, I've been doing SOTA. I need something else. I want to do something else, something new, try something out. There's a lot of hams that are like, hey, satellites, I want to try it. Or the new ham that's like, hey, I want to try everything. I want to try EME, I want to try POTA, I want to try all this stuff. So satellite's another option. As well as satellite equipment is it is expensive, but to start off, it's inexpensive compared to some of our more high-end HF equipment that we have.
Yeah, so, I mean, talk about that a little bit, because even a modest POTA station, if you're truly portable, you could probably get up to $1,000 pretty easily, I'm guessing, once you factor in battery and radio and antennas and that stuff. And so it's probably significantly cheaper starting with satellite stuff. Is that pretty correct?
Yeah, and especially if you're willing to build or be like, hey, I know the elk, the aerial are roughly $100. I'm going to try to build my own. I want to build my own tape measure, 2 meter, 70 centimeter Yagi. I got to make sure you have both of those. And as we'll mention, uplink and downlink are on 2 different bands. So you would need 2 different antennas. But yeah, if you're willing to build, it's very inexpensive, especially with the Baofengs. I don't know how much those are running for now, but they're pretty cheap. They don't have the best receiver, I've heard, but
we're trending at $16.09 for a Baofeng. Link in the video description if you want one of those.
Yeah, and then of course we're at the peak of the solar cycle right now, which we're all loving it, especially us contesters. We're like, hey, we can. Our scores are so much higher, but as we go down in the solar cycle, amateur radio satellites are there. Solar cycle doesn't affect our satellites, so you just need your satellite to be there to be able to use them. So yeah, it's a great way when we're at the bottom of the solar cycle to still be able to work DX, work people across the country, across the state, across wherever you are.
Well, we already got a good question is what radio does Grace use? And I'm sure she's going to tell us here shortly. So hang on.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. So we're going to cover a few things today. It's a bit key, as Josh said, let's push you. You probably have a lot of the equipment at home. So we're going to talk about what equipment I recommend for a beginner, what equipment I use. We'll talk about that. Predicting, okay, I have all my stuff. How do I know when they're coming over? And then we'll talk about SAT passes, some SAT pass etiquette, what we encourage new satellite operators to follow, and what our existing satellite operators should be following as well. And then what do I do now that I have the contact? So just a quick thing that we'll first mention, satellite frequency allocations. If you look at your rules for your country in the U.S. and the IARU mentions these specific frequencies are allocated for satellite use. One thing to know is 2 meters. Satellite allocation is from 144.3 to 144.5. So we highly, 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 highly recommend not putting a hotspot or other repeater or other stuff in that location. We have had instances where we have had people with hotspots getting repeated through the satellite, and then we had to go chase them down and be like, hey, can you move your hotspot because it's interfering with our satellite?
So
also 70 centimeters there as well.
I didn't realize that they've actually gotten into the satellite. So how do you
Yeah.
think that happened? Just off of a vertical antenna maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, it's happened a few times. The first time I heard it, it was someone's hotspot telling the weather, telling us the weather in their
local
location.
weather. Yeah.
We're like, yeah, I don't know. I know I personally do have hotspots, and of course I keep them out of those frequencies. But you're like, oh, the antenna, it's not that big, not that long. It's not really, it doesn't have that much gain. So I don't know. I would assume it's some sort of linked. Maybe they connected to a repeater or something. Then the repeater was getting rebroadcast. I don't know exactly the setup. I don't know if we found that person recently that we had an issue, but just a reminder, if you're setting up a hotspot or you're on 10 meters and you're listening, you're like, hey, what am I hearing? And just remember the IARU, which is the International Amateur Radio Union.
That's crazy.
Helps us.
I don't know what I would do if I don't even know how you would track that down, because it could be anywhere almost, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Normally, this last one was we had one with a station in Puerto Rico. So it gave us the idea of the repeater that it was transmitting, but they were connected to someone else. So everyone's still working. It's a great hobby, and we're all trying to support each area's aspect.
I love it. I mean, I don't love that, but
yeah. Yeah. So I guess to the question, we're going to first talk about, okay, I'm interested in a low cost, simple. I want to get there out today. I don't have any equipment right now. Cheapest thing, get your 2 HTs and a directional antenna. I have there pictured an arrow antenna, but an elk also is a lot of options. I know, Josh, you've used that before. Personally, I don't have an opinion between the two. I've been asked, hey, do you like an elk? Do you like an arrow? It's kind of like, do you like Chevy or do you like Ford? I don't really have a preference. I haven't used an elk enough, but I have heard people say that having the elk and having both elements on the same plane has caused some issues, but I personally don't have experience with that.
And you took away one of my first questions for you. Is what side are you on? Are you elk or arrow? I have both, and I found that the elk is easier to move with, like move around. But I don't think it has much gain as the arrow. I could be wrong. I know there's a lot of. I saw Digital Rancher in the chat too, but I think that's kind of the juxtaposition between the two.
Yeah, we would have to do some testing. I don't think arrow antenna specifically comes out and says gain on the antenna. So there would need to be some testing done on there. So you can't be like, okay, look at the numbers. The numbers aren't there.
That gives me a reason to go back to my park and just blast at my home station and see get the difference in power output or received power. You give me an idea. I think I might do that.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 HTs. You probably have one, or at least one, and then a second one. The reason I say a second one, you're like, okay, why do I need 2? As I mentioned, there's 2 VHF and UHF, 2 meters and 70 centimeters. We have a transmit and we have a receive band. And you're like, okay, I can program my split. It's great, but satellites are full duplex, meaning if you transmit and you're getting in, you'll be able to hear yourself back. So you have that confirmation that you are making the satellite. Half duplex, semi-duplex, as some people say, has worked, and I support, and I will, if you have any questions about that, I can help you with that more. But I'm really for full duplex. There are several full duplex radios, but if you look at the market on many of them, they're very highly priced. I know some of them are going for like $700. The best way I've heard from several people is look at your Hamfest. And
Yes.
if Josh, if you can pull up that Dropbox
Yeah.
by Patrick,
I w-
Whiskey Delta 9, Echo Whiskey
I
Kilo.
was
It's
gonna
on
wait
his
to the
Twitter
end.
page.
I was gonna wait to the
Well,
end, but yeah, let's pull it up. So, uh, Grace had this. I'll drop the link in the video description or the video so you guys can check it out. But this ham, I guess, Grace, why don't you explain what's going on here, and I'll pull it up while you talk.
yeah, Patrick is a friend in the hobby. He's located in Arizona. He has compiled a list of many of the full duplex radios. There are some that aren't there. Feel free to email him and ask him to add them. But if you scroll down and you get there, he has a Dropbox link that has all of the full duplex HTs, mobiles, and base stations. So that's very important. A lot of the older radios that you're like, oh, I see that. I didn't know that was full duplex. A lot of people will be selling them for substantially cheaper, especially if they don't know they're full duplex. So if you're going to a ham fest, you're going to a local one, a lot of people don't know what they have. So if you're looking for that, it's another great way.
Looks like they break it up by HT, mobiles, and base
Yeah,
stations. So I'll click on. Wow, there is way more HTs than I thought there would
yeah,
be. That is a
yeah.
lot of
So there's a lot of
HTs.
there's no current one in production. So if you look at some of the ones that were just came out of production, they're going to be they're pretty expensive on the used market. And if you have one and you possibly want to do satellite, I recommend not selling it unless you want to get out of satellite and you want to get a mobile or something. So if you look at some of the older ones there, I can't exactly read what the list is there, but if there was, so there's some of those older ones, or there are uncommon. You're like, I've never heard of this HT before. So
Well, I'm a
always
little.
good to have that list handy.
I may have to reach out because I don't think the Kenwood THD 75 is full duplex. It's the 72 that's full duplex.
I would read the comment. I don't know if is there a difference between the EU and the NA version. I know some of them
Not as
have that.
called out in the comment, but I know I have a 72. It's full
Yeah,
duplex. But the 75
let
is
him know.
not. I will. I think I'll send him a message.
Yeah, so
Or
let
somebody
him
will
know.
probably just tag him to this exact timestamp in the video, and then there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So
So
mobiles,
of course,
tons of mobiles too.
yeah, tons of mobiles. A lot of mobiles are shocking. You're like, hey, I didn't know that was full duplex.
Crossband
And
repeat. Crossband repeat is
yeah,
generally full duplex.
exactly. We'll talk about this a bit later, but if you are wanting a little bit of more high power station, the mobiles normally are. They most of them, I think the max is 50 watts on a lot of them. So we get there to that point.
I got corrected. That's the TH75, not the THD75. So the THD72 is full duplex, but thank you for the correction. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, mobiles too. But we can come back to this. I'll let you keep
We'll
going.
come back to that when
Yeah.
we get a little bit further on. So yeah, so we go back to this. Of course, headsets, when you're doing full duplex, if you have just two HTs out, you don't want to be looping your audio. So if you're at an event, a concert, they're really purposely putting the speakers away from the microphone so you're not looping. So always, if you have access to headsets, that'd be great. A compass, we'll talk about how you figure out where the satellite is, but the compass is always great to know, to orient yourself, especially to know location. I'm at college right now in Ohio, and I don't know. I'm like, hey, I don't know where north is normally on this campus. So
Is it because
I'm
it's
like,
just
okay,
flat?
It's flat, and I have a lot of buildings that I try to get away from, and I'm like, okay, I think I figured it out now, but it's definitely, especially if you're going somewhere else, it's really hard to figure that out. So it's always good to have a compass. The splitter, if you're gonna record your audio, we mentioned. If I haven't mentioned, satellites are very fast pace if it's during like normal waking hours of like 5 to 9. Normally pretty busy, so it's great to have a recorder. I have tons of when I was here. I'm like, hey, I need to record this. I don't remember who I work, so I can go listen back to my recording. And then, of course, we'll talk about some phone apps that are great to use when you're out and about.
Which recorder do you recommend? Do you have a preference? Because I've used recorders that when I'm recording, like if I do a pass through or something like that, I get weird audio, like my audio's weird or the radio audio's weird. What do you use?
So I use an older physical voice recorder. I especially like the ones that you can listen to what it's recording.
Yes.
I haven't had issues with mine, but it is an older one and they don't sell it anymore. So
well, what is it? What is it? Just in case people have an eye out in some of the older stuff.
it's just a standard.
Oh, just a cheapie. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a cheap one. Right now, actually, as I said, you want to be careful with looping,
Mhm.
but I've been using my phone a lot because I'm
Oh.
outside, I'm with my friends, I'm recording just my voice with what I'm saying,
Mhm.
which isn't as helpful because you're like, okay, did I actually make the contact? But with what I'm saying in my words, I know and I can remember the past because I transcribe it right after. So
I will drop a link in the video here
yeah.
to one I've used that's like, I don't know, it's like $40 or something like that. They're really cheap
Another
now.
Yeah, another good thing is I think we'll mention is okay, I have my HTs, I have my antenna. Okay, that's three things. Plus, okay, now we have this other stuff. How do I hold all this?
Oh, please.
Um, a
Aside
lot
from
of
growing a third arm, what do you do, Grace?
I personally, if I'm using two HTs, I would put one in a pocket or on my belt loop. Personally, in the winter, I liked wearing my big coat and I could slip it in my pocket and I would have my headphones connected to that. So then, okay, so now I only have two things. And then all the voice record stuff would go in that big pocket as well.
Mm.
So the winter in Michigan with the snow, you had to wear the coat to keep warm. But of course, if you have a full duplex radio, then you only have one. But as well, so you have a lot of stuff. Always great is bringing someone else with you, even if they're not a ham. You're like, hey, I want to teach you. Can you point this antenna over there? It's a great learning experience, especially I've seen it a lot of times with STEM outreach organizations. You're like, okay, we're trying to find the satellite. Point the antenna where you hear the best. Okay. And then we'll talk about polarization as well, is with the arrow. You can rotate it. Okay, I rotate it and hear it better.
Yeah.
Always great to that, and especially if you have some youth, some younger, and you're trying to teach them. You can have one hold one of the HTs, one hold another, one hold the antenna. It's a great way to get a lot of people involved. But if you're out there yourself, highly recommend pockets. If it's not too hot, I know in California it's probably difficult to wear a coat or a winter coat or something. But
I like a little chest bag, cross chest bag
yeah,
kind of thing, and I
yeah,
put the recorder
I
in
saw
there.
that
And
one. That
yeah,
one looked very useful, and
yeah,
that would be great.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what Digital Rancher uses too. Now that I think about it, but
yeah,
yep.
yeah. So this is the Doppler adjustment spreadsheet that Kilo Echo Zero Papa Bravo Radio has. It has been up to date. It was updated recently with some of our newer Tevel satellites that we have. But we'll use SO50 for an example. That is an FM satellite that we use. We have the uplink frequency as 145.850 and the downlink. We see a difference there.
Yeah.
We have more frequencies on the right than we do the left.
What's
You'd
that
be
about?
like, hey, what's that about? So Doppler shift. It's something that I normally cover in a bit more depth, but basically, as the satellite moves from AOS to LOS, the frequency is changing. Just like I hear here on campus when our campus fire truck is going into when we have a fire drill, the frequency is changing. You're like, why is that? That same concept is applying here.
Mm-hmm.
We changed it on 1.470 centimeters because it is more affected. On some other satellites, we will change the transmit frequency if it is on 70 centimeters. So you just program your 1HT to 145.850, and then you would add your different memories for that. And a lot of people are like, hey, it takes up a lot of space. Yeah, but I know a lot of radios advertise, hey, we have 100 memory channels or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not too many to justify it. And of course, for those of you who are on a bigger screen, we have a QR code that'll link you to his spreadsheet where you can see all the satellites.
Well,
And then
I'm gonna
the
move you
link is
up
down
here.
there.
Then you guys can here pause for a second. There's the QR code before I slide you back into the correct position. But now you're flying on the live stream. So now let me ask you. Obviously, VHF, I only see one frequency. UHF is the one that changes. If we had a satellite with a UHF uplink, would we still Doppler shift the UHF side or the VHF side? It's not about uplink or downlink. What's the
No,
the
it's 70
there?
centimeters is what we're always changing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
436, 435, 436 is what we're always changing. It's how the frequency and how the physics behind it works.
Yep.
So yeah.
So there are, I guess the QR code will make that easy for you all, but I've found, and then you can tell me if there's a snazzier way to do this, that you generally just have to go in and program the radio for those slots. You can do it with like Chirp or whatever programming software, but there's no like quick and dirty. Like, does anybody have an app or like a pre-built CSV file that you can just boop and it loads up all the
No,
satellites?
and that's something that I wish was more common. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I have my full duplex D72. Yeah, but they have to go program it in all their themselves. I know a lot of people, you will use Chirp. If you're familiar with Chirp, use Chirp. But if you're not, just do it however you would program your normal radio. And of course, at the top there above uplink FM, we do have a tone. And that tone is what you would need to access.
So there's a good question with this one. Justin S says you only need to do this for one of the HTs?
No. So one of the HTs will be one column, and then the other HT will be the other column. So one HT will be your uplink HT, and then the other one will be your downlink HT. So one of your HTs will only have one frequency in it, and you won't touch that one.
So if this is my transmitter and it's on VHF, in this case using SO7 or SO50, then I'm just always on 145 850. I don't do anything other than PTT it and talk into it.
Yeah.
But this guy, I'm riding the duplex.
Yeah. So you'll be adjusting it, and you're like, okay, how do I know it's adjusting? A lot of people are like, okay, I'm gonna mark the pass. But for me, you find it once you hear it. Just adjust it when you need to. There's no like magic trick. Hey, we're at the mid of the pass. I need to be at this memory. Use your ears, use the listening, and listen and be like, okay, I can't. If they're sounding scratchy, it doesn't sound right. Try the next memory channel, and then you may skip one. You may not. It's based on listening and see what's happening on the pass.
Is that something that you learned with the experience of doing lots of activations, or did you kind of just like, hey, I can't hear it anymore, and I know it's there because I was just on it, or I was just listening to it. So let me just try to click one channel down. Is that for somebody that's brand new?
It was that, as well as some encouragement from the family. It does say acquisition of signal, and then between acquisition of signal, which is right at the beginning, and then the middle of the pass. So you have that concept that says, hey, you should be about here, but if it's not, then you can move it. Also, it's great sometimes, especially, but in this case, you're probably going to have that radio in a pocket that you're adjusting. You can always name them acquisition of signal, in between acquisition and mid, and you'll know, you're like, okay, I'm about halfway through my pass. And it's actually a lot more to think about than hold, in my opinion. You're like, okay, I'm thinking about all this. What do I need to do with my stuff?
So I guess also, if you think about just the way the satellites work, there's channels that are on the rise, and then there's channels on the fall, right? So what do they call that? Apogee and perigee, or is like the coming and going. You can write that into the channel name, right? Like you can say rising 1, rising 2, falling 2, falling 1, or whatever. Like,
you can write whatever like will help. Whatever will help you. I normally do acquisition to mid. I normally put like SO50 acquisition of signal. I normally put the satellite name in there. Or some of the satellites, one satellite that isn't being reloaded with the software is AO27, which is one I started out with. It had a timer on it, but it had the same frequency set as SO50. So you would want to name it as such so you don't get too confused. You could, name it whatever you need to make it efficient. You're like, okay, beginning of pass. Between 1 minute in at beginning, a minute in, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in, 5 minutes in. Like, you can do it that way if you want it to.
So when we're talking about the 5 channels here, or 5 channels, if let's say instead of, like, I guess a perfect pass, I don't know what that is. Everybody's different, but if you talk about just a 90-degree pass where it goes right over your head, this is where you have to use like all 5 of these channels. Is there situations where you don't use, or maybe you don't start at AOS and you start at 2, or what happens there?
I would normally always start at AOS.
Okay.
As of course, with the physics, if it doesn't go right overhead, you may skip one. So mid pass, if it's out, like for me, I'm in graphically Ohio, Michigan, West Virginia, the 8 land. So if it's going towards California, towards you, I may be skipping 2 because, hey, I heard it, and then, okay, I messed with my antenna and I lost it, and then I found it again. It's already in the middle of the pass. So don't have your heart set on, hey, I need to hit every one of these. This is how you can program your radio to effectively hear it.
So John is telling us that SO50 is passing right now in Central Ohio. Grace, did you sense that? Do you have a way to you're like, you know what? I got to do this live stream. Are you getting itchy not being able to activate SO50 right now?
Well, I was on RS-44 earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Right now with the college life, it's normally 1 or 2 passes on the weekends. So of course, SO50 I love hearing, and we'll talk about a bit more about, okay, if I hop on SO50 as an experienced satellite operator, what am I going to do? We'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, let's talk about a few of the predicting and tracking apps. Personally, I have an iOS device for my mobile that I'll take out. Use those. Online is also a great resource that I personally like. N2IO, I haven't used too much. AMSATtrack.org is a more AMSAT.org/track is an older program that if you want something that's more robust and you put in your information, that's a good resource there too. Heavens Above is also, as we mentioned, it's an Android app, so if you want it on your computer. SatMatch is a program that I think gets overlooked a lot. For me, I can go to satmatch.org and be like, okay, I want to work Josh. Okay, I put in my grid, I put in Josh's grid, and I say, I want SO50. And it will then tell me what passes of SO50 there are.
Oh, cool.
And I can print that out. It'll show me a map. It'll show me the azimuth, and I can, if I wanted to, I can print that out. I can put it on my phone. It's a really great resource to visualize it. That's not in moving. It's also good sometimes if you just like, hey, I want to predict my passes. Just put your grid in for both, or just put your grid in for one of them. It's also a great thing to visualize it. You're like, okay, I know north is here where I am, and then okay, north on my paper or on my phone is here. That's how that works. So it's another great resource, and then you can specifically go in there too and say, hey, I have a building that I'm next to that's 25 degrees in elevation. I know that I can't work passes below 25, 30. You can put that in there, so it'll only show you passes you want to see.
Well, do me a favor and hit up the iOS ones one more time, because this producer we've got running the show screwed up your audio when you went through the iOS one. So go ahead and hit those again, and then I'll make sure I snip out the dead air that I had.
No problem. Yeah, iOS I'm partial to. I haven't used all of these. Some of them do have fees. We have HamSat HD, ProSat. ISS Detector Pro is what I'm currently using. It does have an in-app purchase to access all of the ham radio satellites. So SO50, as we've been talking about, is one that you would need the in-app purchase for. But since it's called the ISS Detector, they give you free access to the ISS. So the ISS also has a crossband repeater that you can use, and that would be a first. Hey, I want to know when the ISS is coming over. I want to know when I can use the digipeater on the ISS. I want to know when I can use the crossband repeater and when it's coming over. Those were a great resource there. And then GoSat Watch is also another one. From my memory, it does have an initial cost to access the app. Also, ISS Detector, I just realized that someone told me that they do have like in-app videos that you can watch that will give you like a free trial of the ham radio stuff. I don't know if they're still doing that. Someone was like, yeah, I have access to all this stuff. I'm like, oh, how? And they're like, yeah, I didn't pay. They're like, yeah, I just watched this like 30-second video or something. So it's another, I guess, way to try it out before if you pay for the in-app purchase.
So Scuba Steve is saying iOS app SatSat is back. It was offline for a while.
It's back. I'll have to check that out. I love SatSat.
I'll look it up while you talk.
If you
with
had it on
live
your
updates.
device, it was working, and then they took it down, or you can't find it, and even if you had it installed, you can't reinstall it. It'll open and then it will crash. So maybe it works again. I'll have to check that out. I love SatSat. The reason I like SatSat is because it's very simplistic. ISS detector has will move your phone and it will tell you where the satellite is, which is great. But ISS SatSat had great integration with your calendar. You would just click on it and add it to your calendar. It was very robust and very easy to read. Yeah.
I did Google it or Google it, and I found a SatSat, but it looks like it's actually a clothing app. So I think what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that we have the greatest clothing options. So for when you go, this is the hottest fashion for all the satellite operators. It's available on SatSat, so make sure you check that out. I think that's what they're
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case. And a lot of the times for information like that, you're like, okay, I want the latest information. X, previously Twitter, is where a lot of satellite operators hang out. They'll post some of their stuff there. So if SatSat came back and one of the satellite operators found about it, they would start posting and then it would start spreading.
Yeah.
Personally, I haven't been on X as much due to the studies, but a lot of people start blasting that. And I definitely check out the ANS bulletins from AMSAT. That I'm sure that would make it in there too. Us iOS users love SatSat.
Yeah.
And it's very robust. So a lot of misconceptions. Well, currently we have a lot of amateur radio satellites dying. Well, a lot of times we have had several satellites that are no longer with us, which is very unfortunate, but we still have some great satellites that are working. On the left is my favorite satellite that you will need a radio that can do the linear satellites, which that's RS-44 there while it was in development. But great way to check us, amsat.org/status. It's a place where people can post and say, hey, I heard the satellite, I didn't hear the satellite. One thing that we love to look out for is the ISS. And see, if you see purple, that means the astronauts were on. And a lot of the times they'll be on due to AIRIS contacts as well. But a lot of the times, hey, some of them are licensed and they'll hop on. So it's a great way to check too. You're also, before you go out, you're like, okay, SO50's been doing great the last week. I shouldn't have any concern. So that's a great way to check out that.
Do you have a slide on what a linear sat versus an FM satellite is, or
I don't, but I can quick discuss that.
Yeah, great.
So an FM satellite is just like your local repeater. So one frequency, one person can talk at a time, just like me and Josh. I can talk, and then he can talk. You can go back and forth with someone. A linear satellite is kind of like a mini HF band. You get maybe 40 kilohertz of space.
Wow.
To able to talk. Yeah. That's about RS-44. So you can spread out. You're like, hey, okay, we'll talk a bit here about courtesy, but you can be like, hey, I just want to chat with my friend about what I had for breakfast. Well, down the passband, there'll be a DX station. They're running a pileup. So it's a very easy way there to be courteous as well.
So you can do CW, single sideband, digital modes. What do you primarily do?
Yeah. I have been doing a lot of voice, single sideband, but recently I've been doing a lot of CW. Recently, I love working CW. There's a lot of actually West Coast stations around that do CW, which is kind of surprising me. But typically, just so people know, the lower end of the passband is where CW likes to hang out if you're looking for CW, as well as FT4. I have not personally done FT4 through amateur radio satellites, but several people, my father has done FT4, and there's been several great write-ups about how to do FT4. Of course, you really need a computer that can control your radio, which makes it more complicated. Okay, another thing, okay, like I do for all my FTA for HF, I need to now put on a computer that can go with me and do satellite. So that's as well a bit more complicated, and you also still sort of need the same equipment as you do for talking.
So probably don't do SSTV over linear.
No, and also people will say, hey, I can transmit SSTV through FM, which that is valid, but that is not being courteous to everyone.
No, it's not.
So we We don't transmit SSTV through FM satellites. We don't transmit CW unless the satellite specifically has a mode for that. There is a satellite up there that does have an uplink that's CW that was not currently being tested or any development with that. So yeah.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, some FM satellite etiquette. We'll take this through all of the satellites that we use. But specifically when you have that one channel, when you have like that one local repeater you're using, we want to share our pass. Just like we want to share the pass with everyone. The beginner, just like you, that's almost there with all your equipment versus me. We need to share the pass. And we need to let others finish their QSO. And the way you hear someone's done is by, they're going to say a 73, thanks. If you listen, you'll hear someone say their call and they'll call someone else. Also, I'm going to mention, don't be scared to mess this up. It'll be okay. Maybe you'll hop in there at an not ideal time. It's okay. You're learning. It's something that you need to work on. Just be cautious and let other people make contacts, but also you want to make your contact too. So don't be scared to call someone else throughout your call. And as we mentioned, when you can throw out just your call sign. So I'm Kilo 8 Lima Golf, and then your grid square if you want. So my home grid square when I operate there is Echo November 62. So I'd say Kilo 8 Lima Golf, Echo November 62. Don't be scared. People will be able to understand that you're just looking for a contact as well. So they won't have an issue there. Minimize repeat QSO, especially on the FM birds. Just be aware. If the FM satellite, if it's like 2 a.m., I'm not sure exactly why you'd be up at 2 a.m. But if you are doing a satellite pass and there's no one else on, then you could have a repeat QSO. Also, don't call CQ. We have it a lot of times on the ISS. CQ is not really necessary. You're almost guaranteed to have another person on the pass. So if you say your call and your grid or just your call, you're almost guaranteed to get someone to call you back just because of the activity use. Use phonetics. It's always good to understand what other people are saying, and phonetics make it a lot easier to understand. A lot of people say rare or portable stations take priority. You're like, okay, what is a rare? What is a portable station? Some people will sign stroke R, stroke rover, stroke portable. Personally, while I'm in Ohio, I'm doing stroke 8. You'll hear that. Just be courteous. Just listen. Pay attention to what's going on. And then one thing we want to emphasize is FCC Part 97, 313A, which mentions using the minimum power required to make your contact. So if the satellite's going right over you, you may not need as much power as if you have a satellite pass going at 10 degrees, just due to the physics of the communication method there. Sometimes we'll have people say, hey, I'm getting stomped out by the high power station. And I would say that is a factor, but let's also think about the etiquette. Let's listen to what's going on and allow people, no matter their power level, no matter their station, to be able to make those contacts. And also work new stations. For me, if I'm getting on the ISS, if I'm getting on SO50, as that guy said, SO50 is going over, I'm going to hear people it's a new call for me that I haven't heard. Like, it's always great to get those emails that I get, like, hey, I just made my first satellite contact. Thank you so much. And those are great. Always try to work the new people. Even if you're a new person yourself, look for someone who you hear that's making good contacts. It's always an easy way to tell that. Okay, this person, they know their exchange. They made a few contacts. Let's try to call them and see. They'll love to work you.
Now, use the minimum power required.
Yeah.
How would someone know when they've hit the lowest amount of power they need? What's a good rule of thumb there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And personally for me, on the linears is a lot of times how I judge it, is you'll start, okay, at the lower pass, and you'll start at about half the power I have due to my the radio I use having a great deal of power. And okay, I'm hearing myself good. I'll just turn it all the way down and I'll start turning it up until I hear myself coming back. The FM, it's kind of harder to judge. It's basically where your pass is and thinking about, okay, I'm at my max elevation. Normally,
yeah,
if you're using an HT, just use the max power of your HT.
Okay.
If you're running an HT, don't be concerned that you're going to be running too much power unless there's some 80 watt HT or something else like that I'm unaware of. Don't be concerned. As I said, it's about understanding what's happening on a pass. And there's great videos out there. I'm sure Digital Rancher has some of passes that have happened. You're like, okay, listen to what's happening. You're like, okay, I understand now. And then go do your pass and be careful. Just understand what's going on. There's a lot of times people get on there, I don't know what I'm doing. And they freak out and they're like, okay, it's understanding the cadence of the satellite that takes a lot of time.
It can be a little panic-inducing. That's definitely true. I remember my first couple of, contacts I made on a satellite, and it was like, wow, there's too much for me to do, and the time is running out precipitously. But you mentioned the position of the pass. So you're talking about like when you're looking at your little app, like it says 20 degrees. So that's like the highest angle above the horizon, right, that the satellite's on?
Yeah.
So in that case, would you maybe crank the power up a little bit if you don't hear yourself on the downlink?
Yeah, if you're not hearing yourself, just like Part 97 says here in the US, run the power you need to make your contact. So if you're not hearing yourself and you have the ability to adjust your power to be higher, do so.
Mm-hmm.
But also you need to be courteous of other people.
Yeah, and so there was actually a good comment. Let me go back. It was WY7AA says, if you don't hear yourself when you're calling, try something different. You could be getting in and tying up the entire pass if you just keep doing the same thing over and over. So hearing yourself, and I think that's maybe why you mentioned full duplex, is pretty important in this case, right?
Yeah, and RJ, he's a great satellite operator, Whiskey Yankee 7 Alpha Alpha. He was just portable, and he was pretty weak, but I was hearing him, and so it was doing great there. So that's a great way to word it. Try something else.
Try something else. I like William's comment also. He says, practice at 2 a.m. So that those are the people that are up at 2 a.m. They're practicing to make sure they're not going to be bad disrespect the bands or do the contacts wrong.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to do a quick overview of some different satellite stations. We've already talked a lot bit about handheld stations tonight. Portable, lightweight, reasonably low cost. Who judged lowest cost? Low cost compared to some of the other options we'll talk about. Limited power, as I said, most HT is probably max at 10 watts or so, so lesser than some mobiles. And you have to do all the manual tracking with your arm strength.
Armstrong.
Yeah. Yes, as well. So another thing we have.
Wait, go back.
Yes.
Okay. So what are we talking about, right? So two Baofengs. So what do we say? So let's do the math here. So hold on. Let's do some math. So two $16 Baofengs, and I guess what do you say, arrow or elk? What's your flavor today?
I personally own arrows, and that's what I brought with me.
Okay, let's look up arrow because I actually don't know what they're running these days. And of course, we're going to assume you've got the coax and all that stuff. But if you go to, they have a what just happened? That's definitely not what I'm looking for. Okay, let's just go to Ham Radio Outlet. So $200 for the arrow. So you're God, the radios are 40 bucks, less than $40, and then you got a piece of coax, $40. You do want the recorder, or I guess use your phone, right? And then whatever cabling in between, and that's really all you need, right?
Yeah. So in that photo, I'm using a full duplex radio, full duplex HT radio. But in that case, I could have been using two different HTs. And if you see, I'm at a pumpkin patch. I have my headphones on, which a lot of us have headphones. We have earbuds. I personally like the headset setup. But yeah, it's what, $240, under $300. So yeah.
Now, do you need a diplexer if you're doing two HTs?
No.
How do you split the coax in that case?
You run two sets of coax.
Oh, because it's VHF, UHF, right?
If you get an elk, then you would need something to split it.
Got it. Okay.
So you just run two sets of coax, which works out if you have a different, if you have a mobile or a base station that has two different inputs for the 2 meter, 70 centimeter.
So it's probably even cheaper then, because this is the one with the duplexer, which is what I have for the D72. So
those are more expensive.
Paying extra for the duplexer, which you don't need. So you would go with the one that just has two feeds. It has a VHF feed and a UHF feed, and boom, boom, two radios, good to go. Okay, that makes sense.
So another thing that a lot of us, you're like, hey, I'm not really into making satellites, or I'm not licensed.
Mm.
Amateur radio on the international station does SSTV, slow scan television, which I know, Josh, you probably have several videos discussing how you can decode that with your computer.
Yes.
But here was the recent event. I went outside. I'm like, hey, I just want to see if someone just took their HT and had their phone. Oh, and there's the voice recorder I like to use. Um,
Okay,
um,
got it. Yep.
what would happen? So it was pretty good, decent high pass. I had a house in the way, but I got a pretty decent decode. I got the entire image. So I think there's an upcoming SSTV event. So check out their Facebook, their X. They have it now, a Discord. Eris now has a Discord server as well where they post that stuff. But yeah, even if you're not licensed, if you just have an SDR, even like the rubber duck on the HT does pretty good because, a reception due to the power that they run there. Also, another cool thing is that on the right is an ISS QSL card. So
Yeah.
even if you just receive SSTV, or if even you did on the last event, you can send a card, a piece of paper. They have a list of what you have to submit to them, and they will send you a physical card. And you're like, hey, and you'll actually have something that has NA1SS and the International Space Station on it.
Nice. I feel like I've seen that card so many times I don't know if I own one anymore because they're all on the internet and everyone's like, I gotta have one of those somewhere, but I don't know that I actually do.
Well, the QSL manager for the US is not too far from you, so you probably would get your card in a few days.
Aha.
So not too bad.
All right.
So another thing that people would like to ask questions about is, hey, I don't want to go buy an arrow. I have some a J pole or egg beaters, which we have in the photo there. You can. I highly recommend trying them. Trying whatever you have before you go out and buy something. There's no tracking required, so you just have to set them up. They're pretty easy to set up, but they do have limited coverage of the pass. I have used them a few times, and I'm really not a fan of them due to the limited of the pass you get. You're like, okay, my pass is roughly 6 to 10 minutes, and I'm only hearing like 2 minutes of the pass, and I'm trying to get in with everyone else, and the radiation pattern of the antenna isn't as strong, so maybe I'm getting beat out by someone else. So that's why I say they're not reliable to make contacts. But definitely, if you have the resources, it's very, very inexpensive to build. I highly recommend building egg beaters if you want. They're very easy.
Sorry for interrupting again. Have you ever ran these with a low noise amplifier on the receive side?
Yeah.
And even then, you find them to be a struggle.
It's still a struggle. And as I said, try it out. And of course, if you get one of those, it increases the cost. So probably a lot of people don't have those with these type of antennas.
Your mention of X earlier. So I have always mentioned, like, go to Twitter, go to X. The satellite community on that is very good. You are much nice. They're very nice, but a lot of times they're very blunt. And I talked about getting egg beaters one time, and they said friends don't let friends buy egg beaters on the X satellite group. So that's what I know. That's what I know.
Don't buy them. Build them. They're very cheap to build.
Okay. Good idea.
Don't buy them. Build them. Because if you buy the egg beaters, they're what? If you look them up, they're like over $200. Aren't they like $200 or something? And they're not as effective.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth your money.
Now I could see using an egg beater antenna if you were doing like a receive for like what is it, satnogs and all that stuff. Like if you're just doing a receive NOAA station, those kind of things, like absolutely, because you're gonna set and forget it. Like you got to connect it to a Raspberry Pi. You just want images. Egg beater, sure, why not? Throw an LNA on that, go nuts. But if you're talking about like trying to actually make contacts, not as reliable, right? That's what you said, right? Not reliable.
Yeah. Not as reliable, and don't buy egg beaters, build them. That's what I'll tell you.
There you go. Okay.
So another thing that my family, we have progressed through, okay, operating outside, operating portable, okay, now, hey, I want something that's more fixed that I don't need to go outside. The base station is another option that it costs a great deal of money and takes a lot to build. So this is the station that we use for field day at Kilo 8 Delta Alpha Alpha, the Holland Amateur Radio Club. We had a great horizon, which is also another thing I haven't mentioned. Your horizon, not having buildings, is also great importance. If you don't have anything in your way, it makes it a great deal of benefit. As I said, high cost of entry. My guess is a lot of people who are almost there don't have two big 2 meter 70 centimeter antennas lying around.
Yeah, because I mean, how many elements is that on 2 meters? What is that? I'm seeing 6. Is that roughly 6?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
some pretty high gain too. So you get a lot of power output. They're not cheap, and I'm just gonna bring up one thing. Grace and I talked about this before the show.
yeah.
The most common rotor you see these days that a lot of folks are using is the Yaesu 5500. That's like $760 just for the rotor to gain the elevation, right? You've got the azimuth, but you need that elevation to go after the satellites, and that's like a fundamental vital part. But if you go that route, then you start to unlock auto tracking and those really cool things, right?
Yeah, and especially even the Yaesu, that's probably one of the more affordable routes, as we say. There's not like if someone would design, and maybe someone who's listening, if someone could design a Satran, one of those that are more robust, there's nothing that's in the $300 range. It's really unfortunate that someone asks, "Hey, what can you recommend me for a rotator?" And the best we can tell them is a $700 rotator.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate,
yeah.
but there's a lot of stuff you can build. I'm not. As I said, build what you want. Try it out. I'm all for trying stuff. The 3D printed stuff, I love 3D printing myself. A lot of times they'll break down. It's not as
Yes,
robust.
yes.
You're not going to put it out there in the elements, as I mentioned before. Michigan winter doesn't really go together, so you need something that will last. In the photo, we have a Pelco rotor. That was a surplus from what they used to put on top of like Walmarts and stores like that. If you can find those at a Hamfest, they're great. But unfortunately, it's harder to find something that's affordable, and that's what a lot of times gets people from getting from the I'm going to hold my antenna to a base station.
Yeah, I think well said.
Yeah. So the last thing is, okay, Josh said, okay, we want to get you across that line.
That's right. Push
How
them
do
over
I
the
get
line.
started tonight? So first, figure out how you're going to figure out where that satellite is. Is it a phone app? Are you going to go on your web browser? Or what are you going to do? Get the app, get the website, figure out where you are. And then, and if you're on QRZ and you have your address located, you can look at, and it will tell you what your grid square is if you click on info. Find your next pass. Maybe you're in California and that SO50 pass is probably coming over in what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe? Maybe it's going over right now. I didn't mention the time that it was going over in Ohio. And then program your HT and get ready to go outside and always listen. Even if you only have one HT right now and you have an antenna, feel free to go out there and just listen with your one HT. Your rubber duck can still hear stuff even if you don't have your directional antenna.
I like it. Gosh, what else? There's so many things to say. You were worried you couldn't hit an hour, but we've already blew past the hour. So we're gonna have to have you back for
Yeah.
the deeper, maybe what you do when you're actually hunting for those contacts. Because obviously the app, and maybe just to reiterate it, you probably mentioned it, but the app is gonna kind of tell you where the pass is like going from start to end, and they'll often have a little satellite, logo that kind of goes across the sky, and you're just kind of like trying to track it. But then there's the whole world of tracking it while PTTing, while doing the Doppler, while and like so. There's a whole all of that goes into it. But I guess from what you're saying, and maybe this is also a good point, is that just get it all together, track when the next couple of passes are, and try it. At least try to receive it, right? Is that something a good place to start?
Yeah. Even if you don't have your antenna, you're like, okay, I'm interested now, and you have just an HT and a rubber duck. Hey, I'm gonna go try the next ISS pass and just listen.
Yeah.
The ISS repeater has a very I don't remember exactly the output power of the ISS, but it is greater than many of the other satellites that are FM.
Way more.
So you can still hear it. So yeah, try it. We're a great community. We love working new people, And as I said before, don't be scared to mess up. We have the guidelines. Hey, don't work people more than once. Don't use too much power. Wait for people to finish. Don't be scared. If you mess up once, no one's coming for you.
Right.
If it's a repeated thing where we're like, hey, people aren't making contacts because of XYZ. There, you may be saying email. You may get an email saying, hey, like I wasn't able to make a contact. Can you do something else? But don't be scared. And that's what a lot of times I hear people saying, like, it's a lot going on. Yeah, it is a lot going on, but get on the pass and get ready for what everyone making their contacts.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Grace, that was fantastic. You did an outstanding job. I will note that even though you did mention full duplex, the VGC radios do have the satellite tracking capability. But guess what? If you're using the Elk or an Arrow, you can still split the feeds off, and you can have, you know, your UHF receiver is a Baofeng, and then you can use the VHF. You know, it still just does whatever it does, or vice versa. You'd probably use the VGC as the tracking one that does the duplex or the Doppler shifting for you, and that would just be the receive side, and then you could use the Baofeng to transmit into. So yeah, links are in the video description for that. I have a video on that whole setup. But Grace, you did a fantastic job. Thank you for being on with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Anything you want to mention before we head out here?
Not exactly. As I said, I hope to hear you on the next satellite pass. Look for me on the weekends. That's when I'll be on.
All right, very good. Well, you hang tight. I'm going to wrap up the show, and I will be back with you. Okay, well, that was fantastic. Grace did a fantastic job. We're going to wrap things up here, and then we're going to go over to the Discord. First, I want to say a big thank you to all the patrons. There they are. Thank you very much, patrons. Patron Picks episode will be next week, which means it's a back-to-back Patron Picks 2-weekend period, because we had all these, streams set up, and it's just the way it worked out. So next week, Patron Picks episode is All-Star. I'm finally going to set up an All-Star node. And it's a big thank you to the only K Booty, is the KB0OTY, K Booty, is the one that has sent me not one, two care packages to get me onto All-Star, and it's finally going to happen. So thank you, K Booty. On Discord, though, we're going to wrap things up here, and we're going to take your questions live. I don't know if Grace is going to join us. I'll talk to her about that after the show, but she's on Discord as well, so you can find us over on the HRCC Discord. Link is in the video description. And, we take your questions live, try to answer all kinds of amateur radio questions to get you on the air. We got a number of satellite operators, so we can keep this conversation going. But we're also going to try out this Morse game. I don't know what to think about it yet. I'm a little bit excited. And there's also a new version of WSJTX that's available for download right now. I believe it is 3.0. If you go to the website and you scroll down to the release candidates, go past that, and there's kind of like a, beta ish area, and you can go ahead and set that up. I don't know what the differences are. It looks a little bit different, but I don't see anything that jumps out at me like, oh gosh, gotta have it. This is amazing. It seems to work FT8 just like everything else. So we'll have to maybe dive into that a little bit on the after chat. So won't you join us? The link is in the video description. Thanks for that. I appreciate you. Let's see. Oh yes, Dawn coming in hot with the All-Star is the only digital mode worth using. All-Star does sound very good. I've always said that. I have used it occasionally, but yes, All-Star is one of the best. So thank you, everybody. Thank the patrons. Very much appreciate you. I will be back on the air shortly, and 73 to y'all, okay? Take it easy.